Hey, what's up, everyone? So this is part two of our two-part series on. So what we did is we actually recorded a podcast with the guys from Arakari Digital Agency. Really cool stuff. The part one covered kind of like remote working and freelancing and like all their tips and tricks around that. Now this is part two, and we cover digital agencies, like what they're working on, as well as how to run a remote team with zero upfront costs. So really cool stuff. Yeah, go ahead and check that out. And without further ado, let's dive right in. So yeah, let's talk about digital agencies. A little bit of a segue here. Like, okay, so imagine you're a freelancer. Okay, that's great. Maybe for people who've already been doing freelancing now, they've done it. They've been solo. They know it's hard. You got to source your own clients. There's all this different stuff that comes with being a solo freelancer business. So now, look, you don't have to be a solo. You can join up with an agency, and basically you're going to pool together resources, and you're going to have client flow, and there's just a ton of benefits that come out of that. So maybe you guys can talk about some of your experience getting started with Arakari. Like, what's the story? How did Arakari actually start?
I think it really, Arikari really jumped off when Val and I had a conversation earlier this year. And, I was like, okay, I came from a marketing freelance background and he came from web design, background and freelance background. So we were like, hey, why don't we just combine forces? And so we're going to be able to pitch much bigger projects. So instead of me just being able to pitch marketing projects and him web design, we can get a team full of developers and, I can get marketers, and then we can actually go and get much bigger projects and go from there. So that's really how our Akari came about. And we decided, we're really such a new agency, but we really decided to have a client side and a creative side. And so that's where Harbor is in the creative side. So I'm sure we'll get to that later, but
We can talk about the client side first, and then we'll get right into the creative side. So, but that's really cool. I mean, so it's basically taking the marketing and web design, which they already dovetail so nicely. I mean, much of marketing these days, it's all digital. And so design and having a cohesive brand are so important for any companies that want to leverage both. So that just seems like a really powerful combo. Absolutely. So that's quite cool. Maybe, I don't know, yeah. Go ahead.
I feel like for me, like what really motivated me to start an agency is just when I was working for different agencies here in London, I just saw like how much money they waste, on like useless things. For example, I used to work for British Gas once, for a really big agency that's based in the States. And I remember one time, like, we were a team of two creative directors and two UI designers, like hybrid designers. And we were working on one single screen for like 2 months. And it was like one of the most inefficient teams like I have like ever worked with, I think. It's just so bad. And there's just like so many examples like this where, founders will start an agency, but they don't really maybe understand, how the products work. They don't really understand what like their value proposition. They just kind of like middle people, they'll find a client and just find the people they need and just kind of make it happen. But you usually got a really shit product, or you have a really bad management with a lot of, wasted money, wasted time, people not really doing the things they're supposed to be working on. And so I really wanted to start an agency because I feel like I look at people like Elon Musk does like most of the design and engineering. And I use that kind of as a model, like if you really want to have a successful business and provide really amazing value, you really need to understand your product. You need to understand how it's created, how it works and how you can, improve it, how you can make it better. And at the same time, because you need to be like really like, flexible, as a leader, because the market is always changing, the technology is always evolving, clients always get new requirements. And I feel like it's a really big challenge, like to really understand like all the disciplines, of all the services, like in marketing, in product, in branding, in the development. You really need to, understand these things. And you really, I feel like, yeah, I also disappointed there, but
Classic.
you know, I feel like
That's
this is
Val
like
when he's upset.
I feel like this is like the most important thing, honestly. And yeah,
I mean, no, that's awesome. Like, it sounds like you were working with, right, other digital agencies or in these projects, right, as a contractor. And you just, I mean, you gave a specific story about, you know, a 4-person team working on one screen for 2 months. Wow. So I guess there's a lot of inefficiency that you saw. And it sounds like you just inspired to literally like, hey, you know, I can do better. Let me do it my way. Let me take, I guess, ideas even from Elon Musk for your digital agency, which like, boom. I mean, that sounds great, of course, right? There's just a ton of stuff there. So yeah. So maybe like talk more about your vision, you know, either of you guys, like for Arakari, how do you see this digital agency being different than the rest, right? Like, what do you think?
yeah, I think like the way I see the agency moving forward, I think like the way we're different is we're not going, you know, ahead and, you know, hiring people. We're not going like the traditional way, you know, like get a
Mm,
client or build enough budget in the beginning and then build a team. We're kind of, we don't really need money to build a team, you know, we can just build a team. And like that was the entire point, I guess, with the hardware. Like we don't really want to get a client without, you know, having the team first, without having, you know, those relationships in place, without, you know, understanding what every member is capable of, you know, because I feel like a lot of these agencies that they'll get a new brief in from a new client, and what they'll do just they'll just like pass it to HR. You know, we need that many people, this and that. You know, they'll get a couple
mm,
of creative guys, maybe a couple of engineers to review, to do the interviews, and
uh-huh.
just like and they'll just usually get like people very quickly, very randomly. You know, you fit the bill, you look really good, come in. And that was the entire point with remote I mean like with freelancing as well, is because like if you're gonna look for a full-time job in a place like this, you know, it's gonna be really hard. But if I'm on an agency and I need a developer like this week, you know, I don't really care. You know, I just care about you completing the job. And if I'm not good, I'll just replace you with someone else really quickly. So I feel like from the business point of view, that's why, yeah, it's like I wanted to say like from the person from the freelancing point of view, but like it's better to just go for a freelance type of gig. But yeah, I think yeah, I kind of lost my
No worries. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, right, the vision for Arakari, it sounds like you're not super excited about an agency that's just, you know, taking a new briefing, a new client. You know, it's not all about just, oh, here's the staffing, here's the headcount. It's about leadership. And it sounds like you were calling out this part-time aspect of freelancing as something, you know, do you anticipate Arakari being freelancers or full-time, or is it a blend, or what do you see for the vision of that?
Yeah, I feel like that's like so the point. That's why we started with the hardware. You know, like okay,
Mm,
this is we're gonna build a team of people. You know that we can work with, understand, get to know, and then once we do build that first project and launch it. Okay, you know, we build this project. You know we can do it. You know we went through our mistakes and our learning process, and you know we will learn on the project, but we're not making these mistakes on, you know, the client's money.
mm,
And it's someone and you know our pitch is like, hey, we're not going ahead, you know, and building a brand new team or, you know, like sourcing people. No, we're actually like a collective of people,
mm.
like-minded people who have really good skills, know how to work with each other, you know, have their core processes and their technology design and the standards down. You know, like what you saw in the portfolio is going to be consistent. You know, it's not
Mm.
what you see on our website is not just a freelancer that came in, you know, a few years ago, did, you know, stayed here for a couple of weeks and left. You know, it's actual work by the people who are still here. So it's more like, you know, like a brand. It's like a brand, you know, a team. We're selling the people in our team, I guess. And
That's right. So
yeah.
I guess the concept of the collective, right? It's about long-term value. And I think
Right.
you're calling out something really important here, which is that if you just have different freelancers on every project, like, yeah, you benefit from maybe flexibility or, you know, if there is no work, then you're not paying salary. But at the end of the day, there is a big cost to that, which is that you're not getting into that group flow. You're not establishing these long-term valuable relationships that require investment. And so by spending it more as a collective, but particularly just working with people in the long term on projects, it does sound like the benefit is really from investing in that team flow and becoming really like world class. So that's fantastic. I actually read this book called Developer Hegemony. And it's a pretty cool book. It's on a similar concept. It comes more from the software engineering side, but it's a similar concept. It's like, well, the future of work could be, instead of corporate and instead of just freelancers, it is these collectives. It's about small teams that really achieve this world class in terms of quality. And then they deliver that consistently to those clients that need that most clients would. Like, if you have the budget, why would you not take like that high quality? Why would you deal with the outsourced, the low quality that we've all come across in our experience, right?
And like what's like also really really cool is because like once you do have this team, this collective, people that you work with for a long time, then it's like it's all you build the technology, you designed it, you coded it. You can take that same code, that same design, find similar clients and maybe in different markets or in different industries, and you can retweak these products, kind of redesign them slightly and make the same amount of money, through like 1/10 of that cost, or that time spent. So I feel like we really do get, and since like we also have a creative side, we can use also our technology for new apps, and new startups and new projects, that will open up new doors. So it's really, for us, it's really building a system, a foundation, like a framework that we can just kind of scale in the future. And right now it's just like setting the right pieces in place, for that to happen, I guess.
Yeah. So, and then I guess the idea is that right now, you've talked to some clients, so that there are clients, but you guys have decided you want to focus on the creative side right now. So that's actually building this app called Harbor. So actually, I think we should take like a 5-minute break before we go into the last segment. We've been going pretty well, and everybody, I think, would love to have 5 minutes just to like stretch your legs, get some water, use the bathroom. Boom. All right, so we're rolling, we're live, we're back. Everybody has their coffee, their water, their daps. We got, got everything. Everybody's fresh as a daisy. Let's jump in and talk about you guys, about Harbor. We talked all about Arcari, remote work and the future of remote work and freelancing. A lot of tips on how to get into that, digital agency as well. Let's talk about Harbor. So you guys have a digital agency, Arcari, and focus now more on like the creative side of that. So literally building your own project and managing a remote team, big deal. So yeah, why don't you just introduce us to like, what is the app? What is Harbor? How did you get started with it? Let's hear about it.
Yeah. Go ahead, Val, take it away.
No, I wanted for Grant to start. Go ahead, man.
You'll come in at the back end. Yeah, I mean, really, Harbor it started out as we really started it as a COVID-19 app to really help with the response.
Yeah.
Obviously, things are much different today than they were back in March and in fact 3 months ago. So we've definitely had to pivot. And what we've actually created now is more of an e-commerce app where people can trade items, offer help, receive help. And that's really the big thing, and when they trade items, they can either, buy them or actually trade them, trade item, for example.
That's cool. So it's barter for the 21st century. In addition to the e-commerce, that's cool. So it's kind of like a local marketplace for stuff.
Exactly.
Very cool.
Exactly.
Yeah, I've never heard of an app like that. So yeah, that's very cool. Sounds good.
Yeah, I feel like, what we wanted to do with this project, first of all, we want to start our own agency, but we need a project. So and at the same time, coronavirus, struck, and we felt like we need more experience. And we decided, let's do a Corona market app. Let's design an app that's really, really simple, very basic, that eventually could be scalable. but just kind of like test, like the key value propositions that we wanted to focus on, and just really try and design it in a way that's really easy to build, like no payment flows or like anything complicated. Just post an item on the market, on your map in your local area, and you can either ask for help, offer help, or just trade an item. And yeah, you can post it, and other people in your area can see it. And that's what we want to do for our first launch app, just kind of release a really basic app that we can test and just kind of grow our initial user base. And then, with the like second and third release, really focus on, customer experience and focus on reviews, implementing potentially delivery flows, and really focusing, on the e-commerce aspect of things. Like the way that it's kind of designed is like, like Uber for everything. Like that's kind of the potential, but at the same time, there's just like e-commerce is so wide. Like it can be an everything type of store, or you can focus on a niche, like Deliveroo, like with food, and Uber Eats, or you could more focus, on the Facebook marketplace type of industry. So there's just so many different things and so many different niches you can focus on. So we're really just trying to figure out our niche and pivot right now, and just figure out our entire launch strategy. And yeah, we're looking for amazing developers, and, Flutter engineers, product managers, designers, and just really try and build a really great team of people. And so we can like basically raise funding in the future, and yeah, just create a vesting structure between the team. And that's how we kind of are moving forward right now.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, so it sounds like the app right now, it came out of this COVID crisis. So that was kind of a catalyst for some of that. But at the end of the day, like the market is just e-commerce is about local communities. So I guess, there's Craigslist and there's Facebook Marketplace that serve those needs. And then in the big cities, there's all these like delivery or, e-commerce and logistics type apps. But that's a really cool market. Like I definitely see in the future that expanding, especially as communities start to learn how technology can fit into their daily life, right? Because, other than Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, and then of course, there's like the real life aspect. You go and you just meet somebody at a club and they introduce you to their friend, and then suddenly you're connected, and then they sell you something if they have a local personal business, or you just go out in the town and you find something. But I think that's an untapped market in terms of discovery in your local area, right? Like you want to find small businesses, and you want to find stuff that's interesting to really like, just go local. And there isn't see anything for discovery. So it's a really interesting market.
Yeah, I feel like, I definitely see Harbor like as a potential utility in the future, because I feel like all these apps they're not just apps, they're no longer just websites. You use Uber like right now, like an app is something you use right now for a service, for something that you need. And I feel like this is like a brand new industry, like all these, apps, e-commerce apps, like all these brand new apps, they're like all like 10 years, 20 years old, like this industry is so new. And when I think about the future, like 50 years from now, how it's going to be, I feel like there's going to be just so many apps like Uber. There's going to be so many type of delivery apps, maybe dating apps, for all kinds of niches or different themes, or like gamified in some cool way. So yeah, Harbor is definitely designed in a way that's like immediate. Like you need to buy something or you need to trade something. It's like something that you can immediately access in your area right now, right this second.
Interesting.
Whereas our competitors are more like, they have usually like really outdated experiences. It's web. Maybe they have some clunky app, But I feel like this is where we're really trying to push the boundaries with Harbor. It's like, really top class design, user experience, something, we can access immediately. You have an item to post. It's easy. There's no useless steps, and yeah, just something you can use. And as, we grow our user base with our first launch, and as we move forward, we'll definitely want to look into like different business partnerships and, really kind of work towards accomplishing our business plan and our ideas in a way. Yeah, it definitely has a lot of potential, but we're the co-founders, so we're kind of biased, right?
Yeah. I wanted to grill you a little bit on that and just
Yeah.
kind of play around with these ideas about your market, because it's a really cool one. So it kind of does sound like it's a little bit of like the Craigslist, the Facebook marketplace, but Craigslist is such an open board for things in your community. So it could be like anything, like, oh, I'm starting a club, or like, oh, like,
Yeah.
I saw you at the supermarket, you're so beautiful, like, are you around? You know what I mean? So there's 1,000,001 things on Craigslist. It is the local ads on the internet. So maybe taking a piece of that, like one segment, which might be the items marketplace, that might be the place to start, the e-commerce. Maybe there is, again, like, this is just my input, like a local business discovery element. Like, there's a couple of adjacent things that you can play around with. But I'm curious how, like, it beats Facebook marketplace or something, or like, it sounds tricky because it's really like a marketplace element. You need enough people in town,
Yeah.
in like a certain place, to have the app, be active. It's really hard. That's the network effect. That's also the barrier, right? You have to get that N squared, you got to get growth. And that's such a huge piece of that. So, like, what's your guys, take on that? How do you see approaching that challenge? Like, is it focusing on a niche, or do you have like a specific marketing angle where you want to grow and like get that success to get, that traction? Like, what are you thinking about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing that really differentiates Harbor than, say, Craigslist or Listio, or there's a bunch of those out there, is the hyper local aspect of Harbor, and the fact that you can see it on the map right there, right then, and really play into that sort of immediate gratification that our generation is so used to with apps. And I think that's really one of the things that, if you look at Craigslist, you have to go back and forth. You have to email. I mean, you have someone's number, and it's kind of sketchy. And like this way, it's more of an experience where, okay, this person is near me. I can figure out, okay, I want to trade my T-shirt or my desk or something, and I can trade it almost immediately for someone that's on there. To answer your question, to get enough people on the app to really make it viable, I think that's really one of the things that we're currently looking at. We're looking at a bunch of different apps, for example, like Tinder. How did Tinder get, thousands and thousands of users on there? These are really strategies that we're currently evaluating and trying to see, what's the best way to do it.
You guys are really going for the growth hacker playbook. You're just
definitely
open. Like, let's steal all the best ideas, because I think there's a lot of fertile ground there that's been,
it's
over the years, right?
So much of it has already been proven. You just kind of model success, and that's what we're kind of trying to figure out right now.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Basically,
go ahead first.
Yeah, basically, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. Like, we're not doing anything, crazy when it comes to our marketing strategy. There's already proven, tested strategies out there. So why don't we take from, previous apps that have written the book on that and just use it for ours? So, I think sometimes when people think about like apps or marketing, like they have to do all these crazy things, it's like, well, no, let's just take proven strategies that have already worked and put it together with different strategies. Sometimes it's as simple as that.
Yeah, making it work for you, just
exactly.
Yeah. And I think like what's also Harbor is like the way it's different, I guess. Like we really want to like Harbor to actually mean something, because so like I feel like when I use Facebook or like another service, like just from prior experience, like I already like if I sell something, I expect to receive like scam messages, or I expect like people with bad intentions kind of to try to do business with you, not real business, but so I feel like that's what we really want to do with the Harbor, and because it is local app, you can't really fake your location. You can't really do these things that you can normally do with Facebook. You can be someone in a completely different country in the middle of nowhere, and be like, I remember I was in Berlin looking for a room to rent, and there was like this woman, And like she called me, oh yeah, and she was like, but she like sounded so legit, and she sounded like a woman, like in her 40s or something, like a real modest, like educated, awesome woman. And yeah, I mean, she's like, oh yeah, like the keys will be mailed to you, like given to you like tomorrow, like shit like that. Like, man, like I need to make the wire, and like it's like obvious. Like a lot of people obviously fall for that, And
wow.
so what I learned was like I learned a lot from Uber, like their rating system and like how their trust system works, and I feel like that's really important. So we'll definitely, when we will be working with sellers with, going with second and then release, like with the app. We'll definitely look at moderating more, including like verification flows for businesses. So, we like all the businesses and people that actually do trade on the app, are legit. And yeah, so we really want to build like a really strong community that you can, like trade with people, build your rating, like a credit score almost, and like kind of like Kibi as well, I guess. And just have like, yeah, trusted community that you can trade and buy items from, basically.
That's cool. I mean, yeah, so I love that. So there were two elements that really stood out to me. So the first is, compared to something like Craigslist or even Facebook Marketplace, just having that user experience where you see the map and you see like, it's just a richer experience. Like you're literally experiencing, well, they're there and I'm here and let's meet up. And it's this interactive map that's showing in real time where we're at. It's easy to find each other, right? So it's not this sketchy, like send 5 emails or text messages. It's a more like personal experience even. And so that's huge. I mean, it's like Snapchat, right? Like they have a map now and there's all this like, kind of like, but it's further around. I think, even Uber, it's not been tapped out at all. It's actually like, really cool space in terms of this experience of that local having the
it's a proven concept for smaller businesses. That's how I see it.
But it hasn't been utilized fully. So that is a really cool, unique aspect of the app that I just love. And then the other piece that you mentioned, which is also really interesting, is around the fraud aspect or around the quality of the identity and some of those more technical aspects of the business. Because I know, like I worked at Square. And so one of the things that I saw Square do so well coming in as a tech player into the financial industry of like just clearing credit card transactions, right, is they brought a huge win in terms of fraud detection. There's a pretty awesome like security and fraud team at Square and machine learning and all that stuff. And just being able to do fraud even better than many credit card companies is what allowed Square to scale in terms of providing just a better experience to the customer at the end of the day, to the small businesses that use Square. So I can absolutely see how, solving that fraud aspect is a technical challenge, but one that offers just a huge win in terms of like building your moat and scaling the business. So that makes a ton of sense. So I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And to add on to your point, Jeremy, I think in future versions, what we really want to do is, it all circles back to kind of that remote work. And we really want to provide opportunities for people to really start their own businesses on our platform, a la Shopify. But what I would love to do in the future, is also incorporate some of the marketing tools and advertising tools on the platform. So it's a literally one-stop shop for all your marketing, shop design needs. So I think like really bringing those tools in so other people don't have to go to Facebook or Instagram and somehow incorporating them, maybe doing like a Shopify buffer type thing,
yeah,
could be a play in the future. So we're definitely excited for the future and where Harbor could go. And we really want people to think of us kind of like a safe harbor. And that's really where the name Harbor really came from. We want people to feel safe and protected and feel like
a place like when everything is wrong in life, you can rely on Harbor to get you out. You can trade your fucking sofa, you can buy something, you can sell shit, but you'll be back.
No giant waves. No, you won't puke, as we talked about.
It's a smooth ride.
Yeah, that's
smooth ride. Yes.
No, but I love this space, and just talking with you guys about it, I'm seeing more and more how like small businesses, right now you can make a Shopify store and you can sell to anyone on the internet. But then what are you doing? You're making, your product in your home, or, you might have a small office where you make these craft products, which we imagine from Shopify, but then you're going to mail it all over the world. But at the same time, like, where is that leverage for a small business in their local community to really reach all those people in their homes who just, don't show up at their shop, right? And so that to me just seems like a really huge market, or like having that blend of taking local, putting it on the internet. Like, we should be able to see what is around us through this tool of the internet and see who we're connected to in the community without having to necessarily like drive down every single street, right? And so that is a huge opportunity. And I love that, especially as we have more and more augmented reality. I know that's a trend that's still very new, but it is up and coming in 5 to 10 years. So that's really cool. And I love all these aspects about the Harbor app. So
thank you.
Fantastic. Great. So I want to talk more about how you guys built your remote team, and like, how's the development going? Because I guess you guys, you built a remote team with basically zero upfront cost. So I want to hear the whole story. Like, was it just because of like COVID apps where people like, oh, I want to work on a COVID app, or was it something else? What drove kind of that process of developing the team, and like, how did that go?
I think it really started with the COVID. I mean, I think it really started there. And we asked for volunteers to really start with the project. As we talked about, we've made a pivot, but with that being said, we really believe that we can build a pretty badass team with zero upfront cost, COVID or not. I mean, not even with COVID in the picture.
Right.
By really, getting people to believe in a vision, and really being like, as Val mentioned earlier, we're building a collective here. So we want the best talent possible. We want people to work, that can work in teams. And, Val and I have figured out some pretty effective ways now. We definitely had some road bumps. We definitely had some bumps in the road, but, it's been a learning experience in terms of managing a remote team. But really, I'm really happy with the direction it's been going recently.
Yeah. I feel like you need to go, like, if you want to build like I don't know, like a $0 team, like, you definitely need to go with a different mindset, to do a startup. Sure. I feel like, if you work on a project, let's say, Jeremy, you and your co-founder, right? You already invested so much time, probably maybe money too, on all kinds of like subscription tools, perhaps, like whatever. So you feel like you already have that attachment, that investment in the company, and you feel like it's a piece of you. It's like it belongs to you. Well, I guess like what I learned, like when I even started, this journey, like this entrepreneur journey, like you would say, like when I was in San Francisco, I was like still figuring things out. I wasn't really sure what I was doing. Like I knew I was like heading there, but I didn't know how long it would take me to get there. I was just kind of like learning as I go. And like what I figured out, like if you're gonna be alone and try to build the entire business, alone, like just like you're not like you might get better at your skill and what you do, like as an engineer or designer, but it's gonna be so hard for you to actually like build that thing and launch the thing. You might be able to do one of these things, but probably not both. So I think like you really need a really, really powerful team, and I think that's where you kind of need to let go of the ownership of the project and the app. Before it was like, oh, it's my project. It's kind of like, it's like narcissistic. It's me, it belongs to me. Like if you say something this or that, like you need to kind of really let go and let like everyone kind of, add their soul to that project, add their piece to the app, and and just kind of let go. And when it like, for example, I don't mind being a CEO, I don't mind being this or that. I don't care, because for me, it's about, launching the product. Because I was working so hard, this or that, and it just fails. I just never finish. So like, it's better to just kind of build a team, offer something for everyone, like that they can like get in return, right? Because like, what motivates you? Same thing as everyone else. Like, you want to start a business to, probably be financially free, live on your terms, and like actually focus on something that you love, that you created, like something when you die, like your legacy will continue like living on, right? And like for that, for that way to happen is like the only way to build something really amazing with like no money, like is like to really get like people like really make people feel like they're part of the team, like they're actually co-founders, and like like they feel like important, and that they're listened to, and like they will work hard. I feel like we really tried to do like a few different approaches with Grant, like we really tried, start, like really 4 hour a 4 hour week type of thing, but and everyone's gonna just commit a few hours every week and it's gonna be amazing, because like obviously you're a volunteer, or like we don't expect too much work from you. So I really think like what's important is expectation management. It's just so important getting the expectations right from each, like from all team members. Really understanding what everyone owns in the team, but yeah, like I guess Greg can add more to it, like his experience as well, how he feels.
Yeah, definitely. To add on to Val's point there, like, I think between Val and I, we kind of decided, we were like, okay, Val and I at the beginning, we were like, okay, who should like really be in charge of the team, and the team aspect and whatnot. And we kind of came to a conclusion that like it's like, okay, I'll lead the team meetings and stuff like that, and be like the CEO of the project, right? So like that's what we decided, just because it played to our strengths better.
Mm-hmm.
And what I really appreciate about Val, and one of the things that I thought was really cool, was Val's like, and I love this about Val. He's literally like, I don't care about the role, I don't care about the title, I just want this project to go through. And I love that. I love that mentality, and I don't care about the role either, but we came together and we were like, look, it plays to my strengths, my people strengths, to really lead the team, and it plays better for Val to kind of, be in the design background, right? So that's kind of one of the things that Val and I had to work through and really figure out what works for us. And now that we've kind of figured out that approach, like I feel like things have been going a lot smoother. But it takes time to really understand and really like, and what one of the things that we believe is like it starts at the top, right? So Val, if the project's not running smoothly, like it's on Val and I, right? We're at the top, so we take the ownership. So I think that's one of the things that we always stress, is like I always tell the team, like, whatever you need, let us know, because it's our job to give it to you. And we want full buy-in from our team. We want to make sure that they're invested and that they want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really our big thing, and we've been able to do that so far.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. Like, to me, that's what the big secret is. I mean, the secret in plain sight, it's that if you want to build this kind of remote first team, and doing it the way you guys did, and like the zero upfront cost, like that's part of it as a big picture. But at the end of the day, that's possible only because, it's a leadership mindset. It's about ownership. So instead of paying dollars, instead you're giving this ownership where people are investing all together in the project. And there's so much, like, especially Val talking about some of the vision aspects and the product, and then you talking about how people from the team have this mindset around ownership and wanting the product to succeed, and kind of like that selflessness is about coming together as a group. So like all those different mindset components become so much more important in order to run a successful team in this way. That's what it sounds like.
Absolutely.
So, yeah,
for sure.
I'm really curious to hear more about the workflow.
It's crazy. We went through so many different, like, oh yeah, it's my microphone. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we went through like so many different, like so many different like managers, or like so many people actually like even like when like came and left. And I felt like a lot of it was just expectation management. Just like not agreeing on the right things, or not expecting the right things, or like I would, developers, because like everything at the beginning you need to kind of do as well, like you kind of need to prepare things for people, you kind of need to plan things out. You also need to do HR, and you might need to do a bit of design and development and marketing and this and that. So like it will be like, I feel like in the beginning, like you need to have like really tough skin, like, because it's gonna take everything out of you. You're gonna be working really, really fucking hard. You think like you're gonna get more people, it's gonna get easier. No, but it'll be hard. But you need to learn how to delegate everything. You know, how to communicate with everyone every single day. And I think like you also like, for example, how do you decide on vesting structures? You know, how do you decide as a team, you know, because obviously when you're building a team from scratch and you have no money, and like, what's your value proposition to the team? You know, why would they join? Why wouldn't they just go out there and join someone else, or just go work for someone instead? So I feel like, yeah, you really need to set the right expectations. And obviously, like for our first release, we're not like, this is our pitch. Like we're like, it's not getting paid. No one's getting paid for this project. Like everyone's working on this project because like we want to build and launch something and eventually create revenue streams and like create a future for ourselves, you know, as a collective, as a team. And you know, obviously, and once we launch
So
this,
that was really like, that was upfront, you know, you were very upfront. You're like, hey, from the beginning, that's how it's going to be. And I think that's really important.
Yes, clear expectations, you know, and which like no one's making any money. And look, with the first release, like there will be no money either because there's no payment flows. You know, there's nothing there for us to make money. So for us, it's really more about building the right team and like building a team that will stick to the end. You know, because there's a lot of people, you know, who will say this or that but will not follow through, and like that happens so many times. And you also, so you need to make sure you hire the right people. That's really important. I felt in some interviews we just like talk to the first person and hire them rather than, you know, just doing more due diligence and just kind of talking to more people, taking our time to really making sure we hire the right, you know, people. Because like when you work with volunteers and, you know, interns, you might not always get like the best talent, or you sometimes we'll get even amazing talent or like some serial entrepreneurs, you know. So it's like a really wide range of people. You know, how did I want to finish this? I guess like, yeah, it's really important. Expectation management, making sure people like work hard, and 5 hours, like it's not necessary. It's never gonna work out. Like you definitely need to ask as much as you can from your team and whatever that they can dedicate, and try and keep that momentum, you know, going, because things will go all the time. You know, people will reply, "Oh, I can't continue with this project" or whatever. Things will just come up, and you'll be depressed, you know, and you will get sad. But like, you need to pick up yourself immediately and start taking action, you know, and fix the situation. Like you can never let go. You can never like, you know, settle. You always gotta you know, drive the ship forward, basically.
There's just more like onus, like burden, but also the responsibility and the leadership is just much more important. So from the core leadership,
very important
to keep it forward, because the core leadership is the only ones who can't quit. So even though everybody else might be volunteer or part-time or whatever capacity, momentum is just so important to keep it rolling forward. And I think that's what you're saying, right? So
the most important thing I would say is delegation, you know, like even me, like,
that's right. I want to ask about that. Like, how do you manage expectations? Like how would you advise people? Like, what's the process like, you know?
I think
no bullshit.
Like
right
in the beginning, what?
No, you said no bullshit?
Yeah, no bullshit. Like, you know, I think you see so many, I mean, I see it all the time. You see it on Facebook, or you see it on Indeed, or you see it on LinkedIn, and, you know, they're like, "Oh, come work for this awesome company and, you know, free coffee." And you're like, okay, like, like really, that's your best perk?
You
know what I mean?
Like,
and so, well, what's your guys' job listing? Does it say like, you know, this is going to suck, or like you won't get paid, or how would you pitch
like
it?
It's just being like, I still like keep a bridge of being professional, you know, and being like industry standard, but at the same time, like keeping it casual, because look, like I know you're the shit and I'm not pretending I'm the shit, you know, because I'm not the shit and I need you to be the shit, you know, but you know, that's because like I am, look, we're awesome. I know we're awesome. And, you know, do you want to be part of the awesomeness? And this is our value proposition, you know, like this is the most, I guess, like basic breakdown. Yeah.
I would put it this way. It's like, you know, we're sacrificing short-term success for long-term success, right? It's you know, I in one of my psychology classes, I think in university, I was reading, there was this study on kids, like, and basically what they did is they put a kid in a room with, there's just a table full of cookies, right? And I think it was like, and like that's it. Like that was the study. And basically, so what happened was the kids that like immediately ran to the table and ate the cookies, actually they like followed them over 20 years.
Mm.
Compared to the kids that didn't eat the cookies right away, or maybe it took them like, I don't know, 5 minutes, or maybe they didn't eat it at all. They actually found those kids to be much more successful. The kids that didn't eat the cookies right away, right? So they didn't go for that instant gratification. They kind of delayed it, and that's one of the things that we're really trying to pitch to everyone is like, look, we know we're asking you to volunteer. We know we're not paying you, right? We know these things. And it kind of weeds out a lot of people right away. So really you get some high quality people, because you get people that really buy into the vision and say like, look, Val and I are very fair. We want to succeed, but we also want the rest of the team to succeed. And I'm more than willing to compensate the whole entire team before Val and I make even a single penny. Right.
Wow.
So
like the mindset is kind of like, we'll make like $1 million easier together than on our own. You know,
Yeah,
like that's how it kind of is. You know, like 4 of us right now, like we have a higher chance of achieving shit together than by ourselves. You know,
than one of us.
And that's like, and if if we're sharing the same vision and we have the same goals and desires, let's put that into a project, you know.
But at the same time, like I'm not unrealistic, and I'm not going to say like, oh, you also need, you know, to pay the bills. Like you also need a job, like to make money. Absolutely. Or something. Like I'm not totally like, oh, you have to sacrifice your whole entire life to work on this project. That's not what I'm saying whatsoever. That's totally unrealistic, and you're never going to get anyone that way, right? If I tell you I want you full time, like that's what it's going back to, that no bullshit thing.
Oh, that's
like,
very interesting. Yeah.
I
almost like the combo, right? Like, you know, it's part-time. It's part-time. It's unpaid. But here's the deal. Here's the vision. If you believe in this vision, come on board, right?
Exactly.
So that's crazy. I love it.
There's going to be a high return. It's not going to be the same type of investor structure that you'll get on most companies, you know. Not 1%, you know, it's a little bit more than that. You know.
Actually, that's a good question. I'm curious if you guys are open kind of with the equity structure. Like how does it work? I mean,
right now I feel like, so the thing is, like with the vesting structure, there is no vesting structure written down. Like the way we see like placing is who's left at the end, you know, who are the winners, who's like left standing, because like, and that's the whole point of releasing the first version, you know, as a free version, you know, and just really finding the people who can commit longer term, you know, with our second and third releases, and really stick to the point where we start getting, you know, traction, like real traction, and start getting our first dollar, you know, first dollars in. And I feel like that's what will be at the point where we have a really solid team who's really experienced, knows how to work with each other really well, you know, and that's when this will be such an easy pitch to investors, like such an easy pitch. Yeah. I feel like. And
actually, that's interesting. It sounds kind of risky to defer the actual equity structure for so long though. So that I'm sure it comes with trade-offs.
Well, I feel like the way I see this is like, it's like based on effort, right? Like what's like everyone has put in, what has everyone dedicated, you know, to it. And that's when we kind of like, okay, work out the structure. Right now, there is no team structure. So the way we're going to go with it is once we launch our second release, start going with our second release, we'll be like, okay, guys, do you still want to work for free? Or are you ready to start making some money, you know? And that's when it's going to be official, you know? So right now we're just like a bunch of, you know, professionals, you know, teammates working together towards a common goal. No one's getting kicked out. No one's like, yo, you suck, you know, get out of here. No, it's of course not. You know, we work together with everyone. You know, we make sure they are supported, they understand what they're doing, you know. And obviously, you know, if we see like someone slacking and not putting in their work, and you know, just not really committing that much and just all talk, you know, we'll have those discussions, you know, and we'll be like, you know, are you still in or are you still out? And it's all about expectation management at the end, you know, and it's so crucial to getting those things right. And like in the beginning, because in some of the cases we didn't, and those people end up leaving, and I wish they stayed, but they didn't,
Right.
and that's just gonna continue to happen, yeah. I don't know if that answered your question with,
I did, because
your
right
vesting
now it's
structure.
fully part-time. It's actually free for version 1, and so there's $0 involved, and it's always gonna be $0.
And us too, like we're not making any
You
money
guys make
either,
0. Everyone makes 0. So literally everyone on the team makes
everyone
0.
makes zero.
But because it's a staged process, so you're saying, hey, here's version 1 of the app, volunteer only, is basically like a free. It's not open source exactly. It's just a free app. And then version 2, once version 1 is done, you guys are going to come together as a volunteer team and figure out the structure for the paid part. And so really it's just a group project. You're all looking to work on the next team. And at the end of the day, this is the spec. This is like, hey, let's figure it out. That's a really, really cool structure. So it's been awesome to hear about that. But, we got to wrap it up here, guys. We've had such a great couple of hours here on the podcast. We're coming to a close. Are there any like final words you might have about like any of the stuff we talked about, something you got to say before we sign off, and then we'll do the outro and stuff. So any final thoughts? How's it been?
I would say I've had a great time being on the podcast. Thank you very much, Jeremy, and
it's been a ton of fun. Loved it, guys.
Yeah, it's been really great time, and it's really touched on a lot of the topics that I think are near and dear to all our hearts. So I think it's really been a good experience, and I would say like at least with Arikari and Harbor, it's like one of those things. It's like I go back to Sun Tzu, right? The Art of War. I don't know if anyone's read it, but know yourself and know your enemy, and you need not fear the results of 100 battles. And that's kind of the point where we're at. And I think we know ourselves pretty well at this point, but we need to figure out the enemy, and aka the market, and then we'll get there. So, but again, thank you very much for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been great, guys. So, at this point, let's hear your pitch. So there's openings, right? So we just learned all about this awesome Harbor app. We know about like the app, the vision, the landscape, the market, and so forth. If people are like, wow, I'm interested, all our listeners, so viewers, how can people get involved, and what are the openings right now?
Come to the harbораpp.com. We're looking for Flutter designers, product managers, product owners, UX UI designers, growth hackers, growth people in general, marketing, and just generally like professionals and people from technology, and people who have cool brands, and people who want to partner with us. We might be launching in Austin as our first city. So if you're in Austin and you have a local business, or you're a seller or a trader, hit us up, and we'll take it from there. Yeah.
All right, awesome. We'll be sure to put that information in the notes, the description as well for the video, so everybody can find out how to get in touch with you guys and learn more. All right, thanks for watching. This has been part 2 of the podcast that we recorded with Arikari, all about remote work, freelancing, digital agencies, and how to run a remote team with 0 upfront cost. So if you like the content we're producing, go ahead and throw a like on the video. And if you want to get notified when we post new stuff, go ahead and subscribe. And thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more stuff on remote work and all that entails.